Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about salt business in Africa, the trends and opportunities. Now, when we talk about opportunities, I have a story to tell. Who knows the Bata Shoe Company? Not many of you. Anyhow, this company was established in 1894 by two brothers and one sister as a Bata Shoe Company in Zlín in Czechoslovakia. It was formerly the Mähren land of the Austrian Empire. Now, this is a privately owned company that has become truly global. In 2017, they have headquarters in Lausanne, in Switzerland. They have 30,000 employees. They have about over 5,000 retail shops and 23 factories. What does this have to do with Africa? In 1930, Mr. Thomas Bata sent two salesmen to Kenya. The one sent a telegram: no chance here, nobody wears shoes here. The other one sent back a telegram: unlimited opportunity, nobody wears shoes here yet. So this is about the opportunities in Africa. Now, my own story and my own experience with Africa starts in 1973 when Chief Musa Babatunde Kaniki Martins came to the company Echevis in Zurich. I was working for that company, and he came with his wives, and he said, I need a centrifuge. He, of course, we asked, we made the offers for him. He picked it up, he signed it, then we asked him, well, what are you going to do with the salt in the centrifuge? Well, we'll put it in, and when it's dry, we'll take it out. And I told him, well, it won't work, you know, centrifuge has to be continuously fed with slurry of the salt, and has to be discharged and has to be sent to the dryer. Oh, well, make me an offer and I'll pick it up tomorrow. All right, we worked the whole night and prepared an offer for a washing plant and for a dryer. He picked it up and he signed it. The price was 600,000 Swiss francs. On the way to the airport, I asked him, well, what are you going to do with the salt from the dryer? He said, well, we buy some bins and some packaging machines and we'll put it together. I said, well, it won't work like that. You know, you have to plan it, and silos and belt conveyors and packaging machines, it all has to work together. Anyhow, he said, all right, make me an offer and bring it to Lagos, which I did. Prepared a nice offer together with the Swiss Salt Works. Brought it to Lagos. He opened it. It was 4 million Swiss francs. He said, oh, well, that's astronomical. We don't have that kind of money. So I said, all right, I will prepare another proposal. I put on my swimming trunks and went to the drafting office, where there was about 40 degrees centigrade. I was making new drawings. The sweat was dripping on the paper. Anyhow, I prepared a new proposal for 1.6 million Swiss francs. He said, okay, well, let's go to the ministry and have it signed. Now, we went to the ministry every second day. The proposal went from one advisor to the other. Anyhow, after 1 month, we sold him steel structures, cladding, a generator, then erection supervision, then spares. Anyhow, total 5 million. He came, he wanted to spend 150,000. At the end, he spent 5 million. I thought it was great, you know. It is so easy to sell salt washing plants and salt refineries. And that's how I got stuck with this business. Anyhow, the refinery was actually built in 1975. It changed ownership. It is now owned by the Allied Industries, which is importing salt and producing about 600,000 tons of salt, and it is owned by the Dangote Group. And Mr. Dangote is supposed to be the richest man in Africa. This is the other companies that are producing salt, altogether almost 1.5 million tons of refining capacities in Nigeria. Anyhow, this is Mr. Dangote, his friend at a presentation. Anyhow, I would say that there are opportunities in Africa for salt business. The African salt production statistics, they show that Africa has a remarkable growth rate in salt production. Now, what are the components? There are about 54 African countries, 30 of them report salt production, although I believe that salt is actually being produced in every African country to some extent. Now, statistics are published mainly by the US Geological Survey and the British Geological Survey. And these agencies rely on reports sent to them by the competent departments of the national governments. Now, these salt production figures quoted here in this report, in this presentation, are based on the reports by the United States Geological Survey. The figures are unreliable, and everyone who would like to have anything to do with African business and would want to know what has been going on is well advised not to rely on these figures. The largest salt-producing countries in Africa are these 7: Egypt, Tunisia, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, Morocco, and others. Starting in 1970 and ending in 2015, the growth of the salt production, according to these figures, is from 2.1 million to 6.2 million tons per annum. Remarkable growth rate. Now let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. The world total in the same time period is from about 150 million to around 300 million. The African from 2 million to 6 million. The world growth is from, let's say, 100%, if we take 1970s as the beginning, 100% to 200%. In Africa, it's from 100% to 300%. So it's a substantially higher growth rate. This is how it looks like when you take these figures, put them together. You can see some very high peak there between 2010 and 2015. In Africa, a much more regular growth rate in the world. Now, let's put this in proportion to the population. Now, the world total in 1970 was about 3.7 billion people. Now it's 7.4. Through 2015, it was 7.4 billion. The African total went from 380 to almost 1.2 million. So the world growth was from 100% to 200%. In Africa growth, it was from 100% to 300%. This is how it looks like as a graph. And now, what is the per capita salt production? In the world, it has been fluctuating between about 110 and about 80. And in African production, works out between, let's say, 15 and 20 gram per person per day. Now we know that the physiological requirement of salt is somewhere around, let's say, 5 to 10 gram per liter. It's a gram per capita, per day per capita, and that this is probably a little bit more in the hot Africa where people sweat and lose more salt. Anyhow, over the 45 years that we are looking at, there was a slight increase in the salt requirement per capita in the world, but there has been actually a decrease in Africa. What does this mean? The African salt production and consumption just about facilitates their survival. And any production growth in that country or in that group of countries is absorbed by the growing population. The salt production figures show stagnation and even deterioration. Now, I think that this is a very important point when we are sort of thinking at who is making profit in Africa out of all that growth. Where is the money going? Now, the 6 main production countries in Africa is Egypt. Very interesting peaks which have to do with the existence of Sabkha salt. And I would like to take a look at it a little bit in more detail. Here on the left-hand side, I think it's somewhere here, is the Siba oasis, where rather pure salt is available over many square kilometers in a high layer, and is available for mining just with a front-end loader or with a mechanical shovel. And this salt can be brought to the ports in Egypt and shipped for de-icing to Europe, to the United States. This is how it looks like. These are the ponds there. There is brine in the ponds, and the salt is being picked up from below the ponds by mechanical shovel. In Tunisia, there's the significant Salan Tumidi salt production, very good quality, goes to Europe mainly, but also there are the Sabkhas that allow quick change or quick increase in production. Namibia has there is a coexistence of South Africa and Namibia. In the old statistics, Namibian salt production was actually declared to be South African salt production. But together, South Africa and Namibia are an important salt producer in excess of 1 million tons per annum. The quality of the Walvis Bay salt has improved over the years, however, is still far beyond the quality of the Australian salt. Now, this is how the Walvis Bay salt work is being expanded, and now I would like to give the word to Dipesh Sengupta, who was president of the Kenya Salt for 13 years. Please, Dipesh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Vladimir told you just now, I was in Kenya for 30 plus years, and since 2002. I retired in only 2016. It's very interesting because I'll be speaking a little bit on the East African salt production, which is mainly dominated by Kenya and Tanzania. If you see the number of salt works which are there in Kenya, there are quite a number of them, but Mombasa Salt Works, salt manufacturers, Kensalt, these are the two largest units, which between two of them produce about 400,000 tons per annum. Then there are other smaller ones, Kurawa, Malindi, Magadi. These produce about 30,000 to 35,000 tons per annum. The total production of Kenya is around between 450 to 500,000 tons. And similarly, Tanzania, which also shares the coastline, is about 100,000 tons. So basically, we are talking about a total production of about 500 to 600,000 tons per annum. Now, as we go ahead, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi, they form the East African Council. Now, all these other countries, Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda, are landlocked countries. They do not produce salt except in very few small pockets in Uganda. So most of the salt which is coming is either from Kenya or from Tanzania. Mostly this salt is shipped by trucks. So the cost of delivered salt is very high.
Because there's a little bit in the rivers. Yeah, there's a little bit in the rivers, so it's considered fresh water, but it is a small amount coming in from the rivers.
Okay.
And that'll concentrate through evaporation. So by the time we get it on this side of the lake, it's about 13%. All the rivers that feed the lake are over on the east side of the lake.
13%. I traded at 1,000 ton an hour.
Yep.
I can hold about 35 to 45 in about a minute, 20 seconds.
Right. Each triples 34.
Yeah, I can put triple 35 to 45 minutes.